Hey there, hope you're doing excellent. This is going to be an overview on how you can use volume automation in Logic Pro. You may be new to automation, or you may know what it is and just want to know how it's done in Logic. So let me show you first off bat. Um, if you hit the A button in Logic, that is the standard to show all of your volume automation or all of your automation. It's hidden otherwise. So what it does is if you hit A, it expands all of your tracks and you can see what automation is selected. What is automation? Well, automation is a way to control things like volume up and down and write those parameters down. So for instance, if this track is set at -13, here and we want it to go up over in this section, you write that in, and that's called automation. You can take it further and you can do automation on plugins, which I've shown in another tutorial, but this is just specifically on volume automation. Now, if you're hitting A and it isn't showing up here, like you're not seeing this, that may mean that you have another key command programmed. And the best way to find that out is if you go to your key commands and you go to Edit, what you're looking for is ShowHide Automation. And see here how this is the key, that whatever this is, that's the key command. So I'm hitting, it's selected as A. You can change it to anything you want over here, okay? So let's say you've got your key command going now. You can hit A and open up your automation. Let me do a little playback. So let's say, what is this? Okay, so let's say this snap we want to make a little bit louder. Or let's say we want to make every other snap louder than the first one. Well, all you do is you hit A and you go with your pointer tool and you click on this little invisible line. Boom. It brings up the automation line, and you can click here at different points and you can drag the volume up. So watch what happens. Hear how that just got louder? And you can do all sorts of crazy things. If you go up to this little tool here, there's something called an automation curve tool. So let's say you have a crescendo of something. If you hold down the command key, see in your tools, this is your first tool. If you hold down command, it'll bring up your second tool. And we've selected automation curve tool as our second tool. So when I hold down command and drag there, you can see it allows me to create curves. I can create, if I go left to right, I can create like an S curve. If I go straight up, I can create, you know, these types of fades. I forget what they're called. But yeah, that's how it can be used. And volume automation is really, really important, especially, you know, if you're mixing a song and you know, you want the drum to hit softer in one part, or the bass to hit louder in another, or the vocal to be softer in the verse and louder in the chorus. Well, all you have to do is go to your track, hit A, and write in your volume automation. Now, this is writing it with just a mouse. Another way you can do this, this is a little bit more advanced, is see how when I hit A, we've got this little thing that says read, this little drop down. That is the type of automation that's being, that's the automation mode. Now this is universal across all DAWs and Pro Tools, Logic, etc. and even on consoles which aren't DAWs. Well, I guess they would be, but not software DAWs in the traditional sense. So what these are read, touch, latch, write, trim, and relative. I've mixed and composed professionally for years. I'm used to different consoles, and I personally just stick with read and touch. And I wouldn't recommend doing anything else unless you're a really advanced user, because it can really get confusing. Okay, so I'm just going to stick with read and touch and show you the differences. So read means it's just going to do nothing. It's just going to read whatever you have written. Okay, so if I write some automation points here like this, it's just going to read back. If you watch this fader here, which is the same fader over there, it'll go up and down with the automation, right? And I click and drew these points. But if you would like to move this fader up or down with your mouse, like it was a mixing console, or if you have a MIDI controller like a PreSonus fader or an Artist Mix or even a bigger console or like an SSL, this is kind of more how pros write automation. Well, that's not true. Pros do both, and they're both useful in their own ways. I do both. So let's move this to touch. And what touch means is the fader or the automation is not going to be written until we touch something. So it's going to go along, and the second you touch this fader, it's going to start to write. And the second you let go, it's going to go exactly back to what automation was written before. Okay, so watch this. I'm going to move this fader. I'm clicking and dragging, and then I'm going to let go, and it goes right back. And so another reason touch is really great is now it's going to follow the automation we just wrote, and then I can jump in at any time and make even further moves. So say we love this here, but this one point we just want to jump it up really, really quick. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to wait. Boom. Pretty cool, right? And so now it's going to follow whatever I did. And that is the basics of volume automation, folks. It's really not much more complicated than that. When you're seeing mixers on big consoles, moving the faders up and down, when they're, and then when they play back, you see the faders moving by themselves. They're following this automation, just like you're seeing here. Now, if you're not writing automation, first, usually on a mixing console, you want to set basic levels. So you'll move these faders up and down, and they won't be moving. And then once you set them, and they'll be in a static mode, once you set them to automation, you start writing them, you'll see them move. Now, you can also use this fader without having this A automation mode open. So like say let's go to hit machine here, and we want to write automation. We can go over here, can write touch, and then we can do it from this little guy. So I can write the automation, and it'll follow it. See? And we can hit A to open it up. Pretty cool, right? And then another thing is this can also be done from our mixer view, right? So if you see here, touch is enabled. So if you want to do it from the traditional sense, let's enable this. We can play. See? Pretty cool, right? Not that complicated. And automation is very, very useful when you start getting deep into a mix. You can use it for volume, you can use it for panning, for muting, unmuting, for reverb sends, for compression. Automation can be a really, really useful function. And you've probably seen this a lot of times where people are writing these types of things, and that's really, really useful. These are both useful in different scenarios. But that is the basics, folks. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me in the comments below. And if it was useful to you or helpful, feel free to like and subscribe and share. And as always, I hope you have a super, super awesome one wherever you are. All right, take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.